So how do you take one of the best Nintendo 64 games and make it even better? You put it on the NSO. Anytime that I could dunk on the NSO, it's a pretty good one to do. Internet modding group Ship of Harkonnen, also known as the Harbour Masters, said Merry Christmas to you in the form of Star Fox 64 PC, a PC port recompilation of the original Star Fox 64 experience, now giving you 60 FPS, ultra-wide, 4K, and so much more. I never get tired of covering these because it really is great to see something that was originally released on a 64-bit console. Now we get to have it on a PC, full amenities, so much more beyond that, so I cannot wait to cover this. Welcome to the Ultimate Modding Guide series, a guide helping you siphon through the best mods on the internet to give you an even better gaming experience. And I'm guaranteed with this mod, you're going to be going through the Lilat system 3 times over. So before anyone tells me in the comments that this is one of the most illegal and heinous acts known to mankind, no, this is not an illegal mod, and if anything, you have to provide everything to make this happen. Of course, you need a copy of Star Fox. Make sure that you have the latest version. However you dump it is how you so choose. And then just go into the BAT file, allowing you to decompilate everything and then recompile it into a new wrapper and compile it into an exe that you can use. Like most of the PC ports we've seen these days, this does use DirectX 11, so very much compatible with a lot of modern systems, but I wouldn't be surprised with some tweaking, you can probably get it on some retro Windows systems as well. So what does this conspire to? This is Star Fox in its original glory, everything pretty much kept intact, but of course it's taking modern amenities, allowing you to take this game in full ultra wide perspective, like this 3440 by 1440p monitor, or you can go up to 2K, 4K, whatever resolution you have. It really does a wonderful job. It's quite a light program too. It doesn't really take too much horsepower to run, so this also means you can run it on a Steam Deck or even a modded Switch. So it really is a great way to play just such a classic but with new amenities, and there's so many features to dive in. I think you'll really love this version. So we're going to go into the F1 button, giving you a whole slew of options that you can work with, and we'll go through each of them as much as I can. Going through the audio features, allowing you to give full audio manipulation to the game. If you don't like the music, you can turn it off, and this is great though. For a lot of people who stream the game, they don't want to have the music, but they still want to have the sound effects and the voice, and vice versa. You can turn off the sound effects, make your own if you want. There you go, you have like 5 of them. And then on the bottom of that, you do have native controller support. So whether in the form of an Xbox One S controller, other controllers, I wouldn't even be surprised if you can get an N64 controller. This is the 8-bit Do controller, the DIY kit that allows you to convert any Nintendo 64 controller into a Bluetooth one. What I'm trying to say is that the vast array of controllers is quite infinite, and you can play in whatever style you want. As long as it's Bluetooth compatible, you will have no issue playing this. And what's great, it gives you a full controller remapping. You can map it to exactly what you choose and play whatever style you want. So now this is the option we've all wanted to talk about, which is the graphical options of Star Fox 64 PC port. Naturally, the game plays in a borderless widescreen perspective, so while it does encompass the full screen of the entire picture, you can still alt-tab into different tabs, and you should not have any issue with that at all. So before I really go into the nitty-gritty of the section, let's talk about 2 sections here, which is the MSAA, the anti-aliasing, and the refresh rate. You can go absolutely insane with anti-aliasing and go all the way through and make this game look absolutely crisp and clean. Or you could just go back to the original N64, where it barely has a little bit of anti-aliasing, just enough for the console to cover it. The coolest perspective is going to be the refresh rate. So the original game logic was 24 FPS. The game couldn't really run at a consistent 30 on the original Nintendo 64, and rightfully so. Frame rate wasn't really a strong suit with the Nintendo 64, but this port lets you go from 30 FPS, which is basically what we see in like the NSO or even the Wii Virtual Console, all the way to what, 400? So you're only limited by the monitor that you have. I do feel going higher is a little bit redundant and just exhausts more resources on your system. And while I think the Harbour Masters did a great job tying the game's logic with the frame rate and not making the game go too fast, because a lot of games of this era, the faster that you go on the frame rate, also clocks the CPU up. So that's where you had to be careful, but of course they did a great job with that too. I think streaming wise, 60 FPS sounds about the sweet spot for maybe some other folks. 140 I think would be fine. However, if you know any other frame rates that you think work great, let me know. I'd like to hear them. Texture filtering is here as well in the form of 3 sections. Of course, you can turn off texture filtering completely. They have the 3-point filtering, which is very akin to the original Nintendo 64 texture filtering, which I think is the most accurate and best one to use. And then you have more of a linear setting. Like I said, I really think that having the 3-point filtering is the best way to go with something like this. All right, my favorite option of the entire thing, the resolution editor. So this is where you can visually fine-tune the game to be exactly what you want. You want it to be as sharp as you want, or you want it to look like the original N64 experiences. You can get both gamuts or combine something. Let me show you how that works. Bear in mind, this will use 21:9 ultra wide for this portion of the video, so bear with me, but I'll show you exactly why. You can change the aspect ratio to whatever you want. It could be the original 4:3, akin to the Nintendo 64, 16:9, which is commonly used on most monitors, or even a 3DS ratio, which is quite interesting because you can probably make this game closer to Star Fox 64 3D, which is quite nice actually. But the true magic of this version is the internal resolution. Mind you, while this port takes full advantage of your monitor, what is very cool about it is you could change the internal resolution so you can make it very apparent to the original source. For example, we all know that the Nintendo 64 version runs at 240p. Wonderful resolution that most of the N64 titles can handle, but you can absolutely switch this and it looks great. It looks pretty much almost exactly like the N64, but if you really want the perfect, the most crisp polygons you've ever seen, dial it up to 4K. Dial it up to whatever your monitor can handle, and you can really see how beautiful this game can look. Mind you, whatever setting you want is open to interpretation. I have my personal opinions, but what I'm trying to grasp at this is that options are here and they're suited to your needs. Make it look like the N64 version, or you can make it the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. I'll go into my personal settings in a bit, by the way. There's also an integer scaling section which allows you to give a perfect pixel representation of that internal resolution you put. So if you put 240p, you can clock it up to 2 or 3x of that original 240, and you could also do it for multiple resolutions as well. You could also go all the way if you want to with the counter, or you can only make it to fill up most of the screen so nothing is cut off. The thing that's very cool is that you have the option of toggling that on and off. So if you do want to go beyond, which is what I usually prefer to do, beyond the scope, you can do that as well. But what's the point of having so many options if the game doesn't play that well? And I'm very happy to say this game plays flawless. Like I said, depending on your controller, it will be dictating the level of nostalgia. But man, I can tell you here, it plays absolutely great. And if you love the original Star Fox experience, you can get every single feature that you want here and more. I didn't mention this too, but of course there are some developer settings that you can do. You can spawn different enemies wherever you'd want to, or you can go to different level selects is what I prefer. That way you can go all the way to the last level, play that and finish it. Sometimes we don't want to work our way up, we just want to play that nostalgic level. Infinite ammo, infinite bombs, like the sky's the limit. What's just so nice about this is that you can play this game however you want, with so many different settings. So let me give you 2 recommendations that I think people would want this game to look. For purists like myself who love the original N64 experience, I would recommend keeping the refresh rate at 30 FPS, of course using a 4:3 aspect ratio, but you can use the full real estate. I think the game looks wonderful either way. Make sure internal resolution is at 240p with 3-point filtering. Pixel perfect representation, giving you integer scaling of that 240 to scale whatever your monitor is the way to go. And a 1x anti-aliasing will make this game look as primitive as possible, but that's kind of the point. For those who just want this game to look clean, absolutely decked out, I would recommend putting this at either 60 or 120 FPS. However, you can crank this up and I don't think you'll have too much of an issue. Of course, make sure that the internal resolution is whatever you'd want to it. Make it the max resolution of your monitor. That way, the resolution and internal resolution match as well. Full anti-aliasing at 8x would be very much advisable here. And now with this, you have the most crystal clear, beautiful settings. Of course, just remember, by blowing everything up like this and making it so clean, you do see the Nintendo 64 flaws that you do see in the original. So that is something you will note from here. And you want to know what's crazy too? This looks almost exactly the same as the Nintendo 64 version. Right here, I still have my Ultra HDMI mod for my Nintendo 64 in comparison to the PC port, and it looks virtually identical. It's very, very difficult to find out what are the differences between these two. And yes, they're both pretty much at 1080p at whatever resolutions they have. I think the only thing that will probably give a little bit of a difference is how consistent the PC port version is. That, my friends, is Star Fox 64 on PC. These PC compilations, they just get better and better, and they look better and better too. Easily accessible on your PC, on your Steam Deck, on your Switch. It's just great to have something like this at home, on the go, and it plays at whatever version you like. I think for many people, myself included, who love Star Fox 64 and want another way to play a classic, quite simply just play it on your PC with modern amenities while still keeping it faithful. This is great, but what do you guys think? How are you going to be playing Star Fox 64? Do you really just feel the only way is to go with original hardware? But I really do think for most people, this version is going to be the way to go. There's no way to do it. And a big shout out to the Harbour Masters for making just such a wonderful port and version. I don't even know what improvements they can make. This is quite literally a one and done that they've made, that it's quite perfect. I can't figure out any situations. They've done this before. They know what they're doing, and they know that the first version of the game is quite honestly one of the best. And I haven't even talked about the other mods that people are making to this day to increase the resolution and way this game looks. It's just mind-blowing that we can get this. I know I've been gone from YouTube for quite a bit. Work and everything has been so hectic, but I'm coming at a good flow now. I could do content creation again and come back to what I love. Thank you so much for coming in. I really do appreciate it. I'll see you very soon.